Hello, and welcome everybody to this Tuesday edition of the Streakers Island Podcast. It is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed analyst, and I am joined today by Chazzy, the CEO, and Dan Moore, very lit, more for your money. Woo! And I say very lit. I'm not saying he's high as a kite. He's not high. But you know what? We're recording in the morning for a change. We usually record at like 2 a.m. But we all decided to go to bed. So that's why Dan is singing "This Little Light of Mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, nah, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine." Anyways.
Did you guys go to bed confident with your Maple Leaf win, or a little nervous with what that game cost you?
Oh, boy.
We're definitely going to get into that in the Anthony Stolarz situation. We're also going to be talking first round recap from the playoffs, as the first round ended with 2 Game 7s and some really thrilling games. OHL playoffs are underway. The NHL draft lottery happened last night. We went live for the first time, bringing in audio from the TV. So thank you for bearing with us, everyone. We know it was a little rocky at first, but once we got rocking and rolling, it was a great time. CFL training camps just over a week away. Hopefully we're going to get into some of that. The Toronto Blue Jays suck lately, but Dan still is very confident in his 98 wins, I feel like. I could see the smirk.
They're going to warm soon.
Even more. But
we're going to get a big winning streak.
Oh my gosh.
I just put new bird feeder in the bird feeder, so hopefully that will help the Jays.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Feed them up.
But let's get into the first round of the NHL playoffs, where we saw from the East, the Leafs, Capitals, Hurricanes, and Panthers advance. And from the West, the Oilers, Golden Knights, Jets, and Stars. Right off the hop, I'm going to say I got every series right except one.
Which one?
I thought the LA Kings were finally going to beat the Edmonton Oilers.
Ooh.
I really did. All the other ones, though, the only things I'm a little surprised are, I'm surprised the Wild pushed the Golden Knights as far as they did. However, I'm not one of these people that go, oh, they took them to 6 games. That means they can't win the next round. You won the round, you won the round. But Dan, would you see any series there that you're kind of like, okay, that's not what I expected?
The one I'm most shocked about, no one's talking about, is the Tampa-Florida series. I did not think at all Tampa would lose the way they did. I am shocked if they lost in 5. And they did that without Florida, without Aaron Ekblad. And I'm shocked that Tampa even lost the series. I really thought the trade they did, even though it was technically kind of a smaller trade, getting some third liners, I thought it was a missing piece of his team. And when they finished down the stretch, they got the home ice. You know, there was this part in the season around January or so, we were talking that Tampa Bay really make the right move. Will Tampa Bay make the playoffs? Blah, blah, blah. Then they go dominant down the stretch to get home ice and lose to Florida in 5. That's a huge shocker to me.
See, okay, I'm not shocked that Tampa lost, but I am shocked they got destroyed.
Yeah.
That's what I'm more surprised about. And Dan, it's interesting you bring up the Lightning in January. So I'm going to turn back time by moving my calendar.
I think it was around January. I might be wrong. It was around January or December. They were kind of mid-pack at best.
January 1st, Florida was a wild card team. Tampa, was a wild card team where the Leafs and Panthers and Bruins were battling for top of the Atlantic. Wow, did things ever change in the Eastern Conference going into the playoffs?
Yeah.
But Chazzy, when you look at those series, are you seeing one that you're kind of like, yeah, I thought it was going to go differently?
No, not necessarily. It was more about the excitement that we got. Game 7 in that Colorado-Dallas series lived up to the hype. I was more surprised Colorado losing a 2-goal lead with about 12 minutes to go in the third period of a Game 7. And then, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know when Disney is going to write that movie on that Jet game. Like, There's no way 3 minutes to go, or is it just over 3 minutes to go? You pull your goalie, you score, and then like what is it, Lowry from the point with 1.6 seconds, like just the way that puck hit the top of the net, and just like it was meant to go in that net at 1.6. The absolute whiteout, just the like sitting at home, it brought you off the couch to go, oh my God, they did it! Like wow.
Yeah.
So it was just more of the hype, more of the like world-class hockey we're seeing. Like it's pretty intense. It's given every hockey fan of what they want, right? So I'm not really overly surprised. I'm surprised that maybe Ottawa exited a little bit too fast. I'm not surprised about Florida because we said it all along. A healthy Kachuk. Ekbald's coming back after suspension. Mind you, got suspended again.
Another one.
You know what I mean? Marchand adding to that lineup with a Kachuk in the lineup, with a Bennett and that sort of core lineup. So nothing too surprising.
No, and I will say, though, I do agree with you, Craig. There literally could be a Disney movie made of the Winnipeg Jets. You have Connor Hellebuyck struggling at the start of the game. You have the coach saying, no, I'm sticking with you. You have the Winnipeg Jets hanging around until late in the third where they pull the goalie, get one to make it a 1-goal game, and then tie it with 1.7 seconds left on the clock.
Just a fluke shot from the point. Just let her go.
Oh, it was crazy.
It was a crazy play where Ehlers fans on the
original
shot. Lowry bumps it back up to Ehlers. Ehlers makes an incredible quick pass to Connor. Kyle Connor rips it to the front of the net. And Cole Mother Truckin' Perfetti. I'm not going to swear on the Island podcast.
Or Perfetti. There was either one that did.
Yeah. And then Adam Lowry scoring the game winner in double overtime. And I know I projected that the Blues would win that game, but I said to Dan once it went to overtime, like, Winnipeg's going to win this.
They had all the momentum at that point.
They had all the momentum, and Connor Hellebuyck was looking back to normal. I referenced back to the first overtime when Iafallo decided that he didn't want the puck anymore and gave it right to the Blues player in the slot, and Hellebuyck made a huge save. I am feeling very confident right now in Connor Hellebuyck, as much as people say he's not a playoff goalie. Well, he found a way to let in one less goal than the other guy, and that's his job.
That was Bennington, that other guy. Wasn't a nobody.
Oh, poor Binghamton. He played phenomenal in that series.
I felt so bad for Braden Sen, too. Boy, he interviewed right after the loss, and he's normally a very good guy with the media, good attitude, good uplifting leader, but boy, he looked really devastated, I think was the word.
Oh, that's deflating. You had the 2-goal lead with 3 minutes to go. But there's also a lesson to be learned. Lesson to be learned for the young kids out there to use your point. Because how much did the Winnipeg Jets use their point men in the last 3 minutes and just shoot? And look what happens.
And I got to say, too, Pionk just put his name on the map with that game. Played over 40 minutes with Josh Morrissey injured. And remember, Josh Morrissey got injured on his third shift of the game.
He only played 2 minutes.
Really relied on Pionk. The lowest minute guy for the Jets defensively was Luke Schenn with just under 28 minutes. And Luke Schenn, although Luke Schenn, I thought, had a huge game. He might not got the biggest minutes, but he was just flattening people.
Oh, he's dominated every second he was out there.
At the end of the day, they made the right moves. Tanev with a couple huge blocks when the Blues were pressing on at one point of a power play in the third period. Luke Schenn throwing some massive hits, and they got it done. I do want to go on the flip side a bit here, though, to a team that didn't get it done in the Colorado Avalanche, and we're going to go more in depth with them. But I'm not totally surprised. When you guys were kind of surprised in blowing the lead, that is the risk you take when you move a player like Mikko Rantanen. Love his attitude or hate his attitude, he is a game breaker, and he did what he is paid to do. He went out there and just said, hold my beer, and completely dominated that third period. Back-to-back games with 4 points in the third. 4 points in a period, I should say. Sorry, you can't even script this. Like what Mikko Rantanen did, and this is why Colorado originally traded him to the East. But then when he wouldn't play for Carolina, Carolina's like, oh, we don't care. We want him in the West. We don't want to face him. And he went back to the West again. So Colorado has now lost to Dallas twice in a row, right? So there's certainly going to be some things to look at there if you're Colorado. But the Dallas Stars just shut up a lot of haters when people said they couldn't do it. winning
Well, it's
2
gonna be-
straight after losing Game 5.
It's going to be interesting going into this series because you have Dallas coming off an emotional Game 7. You have Winnipeg coming off an emotional Game 7. We always talk about momentum from these locker rooms. Like, this is going to be a very interesting Game 1 to see which team is going to carry over that spark from their Game 7.
Winnipeg almost played 2 Game 7s.
Yeah. Literally.
With Winnipeg's first game of that series starting on Wednesday night, it's really a big question is Mark Scheifele going to be healthy for the Jets going into round 2? Is Josh Morrissey going to be healthy? I mean, those are 2 huge pieces. And Dallas
is getting healthier.
It should be getting Heiskanen and Robertson back into the lineup. Now, mind you, Mikko right now has kind of just taken over this team, leading in points, goals, and assists.
Yeah.
But when we look at the stats here, Dallas, in theory, is better in every stat. They have a better power play, better penalty kill, better on the face-off, and they allow less goals per game.
Winnipeg's got home ice.
I was going to say that, though. Winnipeg does have home ice, and they have not lost a game at home yet in the playoffs. That whiteout is a difference maker.
Oh, that
whether
definitely
you're a Winnipeg fan or not, that whiteout is second to none.
Like, what building's louder, Edmonton or Winnipeg?
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg's louder?
I would say Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg, that fan base is starving for playoff success.
And look at all these people just on Donald Street, too, just well outside the arena. It's definitely the biggest tailgate party in the NHL.
We need one of those decibel meters and do a 1v1.
Exactly.
No,
those buildings get loud. It brings you back into Montreal with just the atmosphere, right? So.
Oh, the Bell Center was the same way, right? It was crazy.
Oh, it's absolutely magical.
The biggest thing in this series, though, I do feel is goaltending. And don't let the fact that Connor Hellebuyck fool you. I think Hellebuyck versus Ottinger should be a very tight matchup. I think whoever wins the goaltending battle will win this series. And I think Winnipeg needs goaltending. I'll be honest, I'd argue more than Dallas needs it. And as much as Ottinger is an incredible goalie, and let's be honest here too, this is a mini battle within the battle. I think both of these goalies would want to show Team USA that they should be the starter in the Olympics next year.
Oh, sure.
And this is going to be a huge test for it. And we look at Connor Hellebuyck's stats here, and well, they're bad. I'm not going to deny that, right? With a 385 goals against average and an 830 save percentage versus Jake Ottinger with a 285 goals against average and a 911 save percentage, shorty firebirding on the dance floor kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But Connor Hellebuyck is more than likely will win the Vezina Trophy this season. I am not counting Connor Hellebuyck out of a series to show up when he needs to.
Even Jake Ottinger's stats are better than Hellebuyck, but not amazing.
I disagree with you. I think considering that was against Colorado, those stats are incredible.
Well, I hope he brings over that demeanor Hellebuyck showed in the part of the second half of the second into the third into the overtimes. It seemed to find his groove.
He did.
His positioning was different. Just his aura, just seeing it on TV.
Positioning was huge. I would say it was one of the biggest things that he was just out to challenge. He was out more aggressive in the third period than he had been that whole series. He finally realized inside the net.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the series for me, truthfully, that I think this is the series that's going to be super tight.
Oh, this one in Edmonton and Vegas.
Oh, Edmonton, Vegas is going to be a very big series. Now, I'm going to ask you guys here. Do you go back to Stuart Skinner?
No, I think they said Comrie's getting the nod. I think they're sticking with Comrie.
You mean Pickard?
Pickard. Sorry, Pickard. Pickard.
Pickard?
AHL wonder.
And I'm not saying Calvin Pickard, if you actually look at his stats, they're not incredible except for one thing. He's 4-0.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, he's got a 2.93 goals against average and an 893 save percentage. Those numbers don't jump off the page. But
all that matters is that W column.
But exactly, and they're good enough versus Stuart Skinner had a 6.11 goals against average and an 810 save percentage, and he was 0-2. We saw the same thing last night with Joseph Woll. You don't have to be outstanding. You just got to figure out a way to let him one less goal than the other guy. And Calvin Pickard has found that formula. And we look at this series here, special teams will be huge. Edmonton has the better power play by a lot, 38.5% for Edmonton, 27.8% for the Golden Knights. However, the Golden Knights penalty kill is at 76.9%, while the Edmonton Oilers penalty kill is 60%. It's really going to be what wins, power play or penalty kill. Because your other stats are very comparable, right? Like the faceoffs are 52% to 48%. Oilers score more goals, but they also allow more goals. So it's one of those. I really think the special teams is where the series is won and lost.
Yeah, and I think with goaltending, and because even Ethan Hill wasn't the best goaltender of life, I think it's going to come down to the power play.
Well, that's the thing too. The Golden Knights power play isn't terrible at 27.8%. That's still a very serviceable power play. That's sixth best in the playoffs so far. It's just the Edmonton Oilers power play second best, right? Like it's only second.
This could be also a fast series. Obviously, physical. Both teams are physical, but these guys can skate. Like both these teams are fast. So if the ref puts the whistle away and we see some of this skill and speed, it might come down to the 5-on-5 play on and then like you said, capitalize on the special teams. But majority of these games may be played 5-on-5.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
I will say, though, one thing that's really interesting, and this was an issue, even myself, I criticized Edmonton for a lot, saying they don't have depth. Well, we take a look at their roster. Okay, yeah, McDavid and Draisaitl are certainly leading the charge. But you got a guy like Connor Brown.
You're going to look 3, 4, 5. Exactly. Those are the guys you want to show up in playoffs.
Exactly. And I look at Connor Brown especially. He's definitely more of a role guy. And he's only getting 14 minutes a night, but he's managing to put up just under a point per game.
It's amazing.
And he's a plus.
Well, look at the plus minus there. They're all in the pluses or even.
Yeah, we're not. And like even Dan, you always criticize this Pold thing, but he's got 4 assists in 6 games and a +3 of only 10 minutes a game.
Yeah.
He's been a gamer. Same with Janmark. Trent Frederick's really starting to find his groove. Corey Perry +4.
Yeah.
With 3 points in 6 games. Evander Kane, yes, he's the -1. His first game in the lineup was rough, but after that, he's really picked it up.
Yeah.
So
he's really changed the chemistry of that team.
He has, yeah.
I look at
he's
this.
getting 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, here's where I get concerned a bit more of Edmonton, though. It's more the back end. Yes, Bouchard 7 points in 6 games, but a -3. Darnell Nurse, I think, is one of the most overpaid defensemen in the NHL. But it depends. You look at Wallman at a +8. He's been phenomenal.
Klingberg.
How good Klingberg has been.
He's a shutdown, yeah.
And Klingberg was never known as a shutdown guy. He was always a puck mover. But he is showing why the Leafs took a chance on him a couple years ago, even though it didn't pan out. And he's showing why Edmonton took a chance on him again now.
I'm kind of surprised Klingberg didn't come back at Toronto, but I guess with Toronto's defense being so strong this year,
there was no
Carroll. Where would you even put Klingberg, right?
Who's your 7th defenseman now in Toronto?
Myers.
Who is serviceable.
Yeah, he's a very good defenseman for 7th anyway. He has a very hard shot from the point, very physical, had a fight.
Now, the bigger surprise, actually, though, is that the NHL website's loading a little weird. But when I look at the Vegas Golden Knights, Dan's jumping for joy, and I said Vegas Golden Knights. Golden Knights. Wowzers.
Getting comfy, bro.
That site is all screwed up, so I'm not going to put it on here. But, like, your best guys are like Thomas Hertl with 5 points. Jack Eichel with 5 points. You don't have anyone that's really been exploding. Who, sorry?
Stone.
Mark Stone has 4 points and a -1.
But the difference with Vegas is they've done this since they entered the league. Vegas is always wins as a unit. We never really, even though they had some superstar names like Eichel and Stone, Eichel and Stone and James Neal back in the day, they always win more as a unit. So that's the thing. Edmonton relies on their superstars. Vegas is more a team effort. So it's going to be a very interesting series.
Oh, they still got a lot of that winning pedigree in that locker room still.
Oh,
so.
yes. Yeah, 100% they do. Like you look at say Theodore, for example, he was drafted in an expansion draft. He was maybe a 7th defenseman at best. And now he's a franchise defenseman and was on Team Canada, right? Like it's a pretty amazing story.
It is. I just mean when I'm looking at this group here, it's more of multiple guys with points.
Yeah.
But they don't have that one guy that's been. You only have one player without a point so far in the playoffs, but in the forward group. But even you look at the defense, you actually have more minus defensemen than plus. This could be a real concern for the Vegas Golden Knights. I think this is going to be a really tough series for Vegas.
No. I don't know.
Yeah, Pietrangelo back there.
I was going to say Pietrangelo is the difference maker for me. I actually think Vegas defense is better than Edmonton's.
No, I really don't. I think you
look at Pietrangelo, look at White Cloud, you look at Theodore. Like,
would you like me to get a walker? Do you want Dan? I think you need a walker for all these guys. All the nursing home, they're all about to retire. Yeah, that defense would be great 3 years ago, not now. I'm sorry, struggled stopping the Minnesota Wild to score. And no disrespect to Kaprizov and Eriksson, but they're not Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah.
And Edmonton, finally, the depth pieces, if you can keep rolling with your depth as well, Game 7, they won with McDavid and Draisaitl doing next to nothing. And they still put up 5 goals. So if Edmonton can continue to do that, the Vegas Golden Knights are in for a tough matchup.
Mm-hmm.
But is there that's kind of those are your two big series, those are your two series in the West. Now, Dan, I know if I don't bring up this series in the East, you're gonna cry to mom, and then I'm gonna have to hear about it all day. And then Craig's gonna have to get you, I don't know, another 2-liter bottle of root beer to soothe your soul. So let's get into the Capitals versus the Hurricanes.
When does that series start?
Series in 5.
Today.
Is that today?
Yeah.
Surprisingly, Frederik Andersen statistically has been great. It's just we know with Frederik Andersen, it's not so much how many goals he lets in, it's the goals he lets in. I think of the one win that New Jersey got in that series, and Andersen scored on himself. So it's a tough one to say, but right now Andersen statistically is the best goalie in the playoffs.
Yeah,
with a .936 save percentage and a 1.59 goals against average. Now he's gonna
that's what I'm talking about.
But he's going to have a much harder test against Washington than he did against New Jersey.
Yes, I get that.
And actually, I think Washington's going to feel pretty confident with the way Logan Thompson played against Montreal.
He played great.
So I think the goaltending situation, as much as statistically it's not, I would actually give Washington the advantage in net. I don't know if you guys agree, disagree, you think I'm crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, I can kind of see it. I mean, Anderson doesn't have the best overall record in the playoffs, right? Yeah, he's made the second round a few times. He doesn't really get over to the conference final very often. And, like you said, this series is going to be much different than New Jersey. Look at guys like Ovi, literally the best goal scorer of life. And Ovi had a new jump to his game against Montreal. I think being in the Bell Center helps with that. But, I think Ovi's going to continue to play well, because now that he's got the record and now he has to face Crosby, I think Ovi's going for another cup. I just
want to state right off the hop here, anyone who's just listening to the podcast and not watching, they just heard Dan quack and they didn't see I was holding a duck. So they're going to be really confused. But I think the difference maker, again, I'm going to bring up special teams here. Carolina special teams dominated against the Devils. Your power play at 31.6% and your penalty kill 100%. They did not allow a power play goal against. If they can, I don't think they're going to be able to keep it at 100 during the Capitals, but if you can limit the Capitals power play, which was clipping at 23.1%, and the Capitals have the 13th worst penalty kill in the playoffs, only 66.7%. Montreal was able to score a lot of power play goals. And that was without Patrick Laine in the lineup. Love Laine, hate Laine. He was a big factor to Montreal's power play, improving so much this season. I think Washington is concerned about those numbers.
Yeah, 100% they are. You know, it doesn't make any sense, right? You know, but penalty kill, they gotta get better, but they can score their way out of this, so they definitely have the advantage of Carolina in scoring. Like, you look at guys like Wilson. Wilson didn't even get going until the second half of that Montreal series, right? So you get him going. You get Pierre-Luc Dubois. I think he got a little bit of a quiet series against Montreal. You get him going. You look at Probus, who was out of the series at first against Montreal. Now he comes in for lineup full time and get him going. But very, very strong down the middle there. You look at Winnipeg using Mark Seifert, where they screwed Washington. Washington's got free.
How are they screwed? They won.
No, I get it. But I'm just saying, Washington's got free, very solid sentiment, right?
I do agree with you to a point, though, Dan. Like, I mean, Pierre-Luc Dubois, a quiet series of just 2 points. Mangiapane, quiet series of just 2 points. But you look at a guy like Beauvillier, who I thought they gave up way too much for. He had 5 points in the first round.
Yeah, great point. Holy cow.
First round. Ovechkin, 5 points with 4 goals in the first round. And it was really Strome that led the charge of 7 assists and 2 goals for 9 points in the first round. But funny enough, when you say Washington has the advantage goal scoring, Carolina actually scored more goals per game than Washington in the first round. Now, mind you,
well, yeah, I guess in Jersey, I would hope so.
5, I would honestly argue Washington had a much harder series versus Montreal. Now, Chazzy, you watched that series, I'm assuming religiously. Like,
I paid attention to that series, yes.
Like, you felt that series, the games could have went either way between Washington and Montreal. So would you agree to say that Washington had a much tougher opponent in the first round than Carolina?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Because we just ran out of gas after game 4 and that devastating loss. Was it game 4 loss? Or game 3?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we lost in overtime in the game 1 and then just couldn't get it going in game 3, won game 3, and then game 4, that devastating late loss. And then that hit Tom Wilson left. I don't know. Yeah. It just didn't feel good going into that last matchup.
Which I still, to my opinion,
everything. But the playoffs are a bonus, right? So it's like, let's get the experience. Let's go against the best team in the conference on the year and see how we measure up and take back the data into the offseason and go.
And they matched up pretty damn well.
Absolutely.
I think this series is going to come down to, can Washington find a way to beat the Carolina Hurricanes penalty kill?
I was going to say, Carolina definitely has the advantage on defense there. That's Jeremy Swayman. Sorry, not he's a goalie, but that other defenseman. Slavin, yeah. He's one of the most underrated defensemen
in the NHL, right up there.
In the league, yeah, 100%. And Washington's got Jacob Chikrin and Cole Carson, who are really good. After that, I think they really fall on defense.
Yeah, when you look at Washington's defense, surprisingly, they put up really good numbers. There's not a single negative plus-minus defenseman in your lineup after the first round. Chikrin a +7.
Yeah.
Carlson +6. Van Riemsdyk +2. Waugh +1. Alexiev and Sandin, respectively, at even. So, and all of them are blocking shots as well, right? So but you look at Washington, they basically run 5 defensemen. Alexiev only plays 11 minutes a game, and everyone else is 16 or higher. Van Riemsdyk's your next lowest at 16. Then Sandin, 21, Waugh, 24, Carlson, 24, Chikrin, 23.
Yeah.
So, and I will say, too, Washington does not have the most physical back end. Only 20 hits combined from your 6 defensemen in the first round, according to the stat sheets.
Well,
so I want to ask you guys then, of course you can always download that Streakers app to play along. Who's going to win game 1 here? Carolina or Washington? I'm going to go way off the board. Dan's going to yell at me, and I think Carolina's going to get game 1. I think Carolina's a deeper team than Washington. If you find a way to shut down the Ovechkin line, you shut down the Capitals.
Very, very cute, Jacob. I think I would go way off the board. I think Washington's going to take this series.
How's that off the board? They're the best team in the East.
Yeah, let me finish. I think I take it very easy. I think this is going to be a short series.
No.
Wow.
Washington had struggled against the Canadiens, and in theory, the Hurricanes are a better team than the Canadiens.
Now Washington's just starting to wake up. They were still hitting a snooze button against Montreal. We still got it done in 5.
Okay, Craig, since Dan's going quacking nuts, who do you think's taking this game 1? I'm not asking about the whole series.
Game 1.
Washington.
I think Washington may steal this one. They're gonna need game 1 because I think the Hurricanes may take the series. I just find the Hurricanes. But the question back to you guys: who would you rather face if the Leafs get by the Panthers?
I don't care.
The Leafs face up against either or.
I don't care.
You just want conference finals.
Have to feel they can beat anyone in the NHL in a 7-game series.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. Does not matter to me. I feel no matter who you face next round, you're facing a good, I would say, relatively even opponent.
Yeah.
I think Carolina's got more depth, and I'm going to say it right now. Carolina's better coached, but Washington's got that star power in Ovechkin.
Mm-hmm. Legendary.
Where Carolina does not.
So has this circus moved on to the elephant in the room yet? Last night's game?
Well, you know what? Yes, let's get into last night's game now. And
wow.
That was one heck of a game. And before we talk about the game itself, I'd like to bring in some highlights brought to you by Sportsnet and the footage posted by the Tough Call podcast on their YouTube channels. So
podcast.
Dan,
what moment you bringing us into the game?
But what I'd like to do here is take a look at what happened. And for anyone who's listening, we're just looking here at now with Sam Bennett head contact towards Anthony Stolarz. Now, it's one of those things where the NHL has said they're not doing anything about it.
What the?
Which
George Barrows has to get fired.
A 2-minute penalty during the game. Stolarz is in the crease. Bennett clearly punches coming through. That's a 2-minute going.
There's no punch.
Oh, what do you mean there's no punch?
What's point of having a
should have been suspended for his hit.
So no penalty on the call. Play keeps going. Then they realize Stolarz is down, not moving.
Yes.
So here's my question, Craig. If you think that was easy street, no penalty, why do we have a goalie crease in the NHL? Why don't we just send off Weevil and hammer out Bobrovsky?
Well, there's a lot of action going on in that scene there. So he's just coming through like any other forward. And yeah, I don't see any intent of an elbow fit. Like he was moving his body going up the middle of the ice.
It was on purpose.
He's just a big boy going through. I don't know.
The problem is
shouldered. I don't know.
This is the 3rd straight series against the Panthers and Leafs where Sam Bennett has injured a Toronto Maple Leaf. You can't keep saying it's accidental when it keeps happening. He took Matthew Nyes by the neck, slammed him to the ice. Nothing. Headshot to John Tavares in the same series. Nothing. Now in 2025, punches Anthony Stolarz in the head. Nothing.
So if this was any other player, is it just because it's Bennett, or is it just?
No, but if this was Nazem Kadri, he'd be kicked out of the damn league. And I'm calling that right now. The NHL, I have the officiating in these playoffs have been absolutely ludicrous. How the hell is Brandon Hagel a 1-game suspension? Kachuk's a 5-minute major, and that's not even a 2-minute penalty. They said one of the main focuses going into the series, reported by Elliot Friedman. Now I have to hold on to my duck to stay calm. Was to protect the goalies.
Protect the head.
Protect the goalies. Protect the goalie. Not punch him in the head. You could say all you want about Sam Bennett. You could say it didn't have intent. It did have intent. If a player with his reputation doing that should have got a penalty and potentially a 1-game suspension.
So what has been
the penalty?
So what has been the backlash this morning, overnight, sort of like about the call?
Well, Leaf Nation are furious.
Furious.
Anything for fans, of course, are happy.
Anything
right?
from Berube.
Well, Berube's last night, it's an elbow to the head.
He just bluntly said it. He wasn't hiding anything. All the Leaf players are playing a very safe, conservative report saying, "Oh, I didn't see anything." Like, I love Willie Nylander, okay, especially with his shirt off. But Willie was literally standing beside Stolarz throwing up. Then he interviewed like, I didn't see it. I was too busy looking in the mirror. Come on, bro. Like,
you want William Nylander suspended because he just called the NHL a bunch of clowns?
So at least Berube said the right thing. So what Berube should do is bench Holberg because he's useless and put Weevil in the lineup to play 30 seconds to lay out Bennett and Bobrovsky.
Give me a busy 30 seconds.
Let's go back in 1985 NHL playoffs. Let's go.
I don't know.
Come on. We can't both out the circus.
Only way Ryan Reeves is coming in this series is as if he's the towel boy.
It just sounds like you guys want like an electric fence around that. If you put an elbow in, you get shot.
No, I just want consistency. To be honest,
I don't see anything. I don't see an intent to injure there of him just coming through trying to play the puck.
You know, like you see him moving his arm. If he didn't move his arm, I get you.
Like, we're breaking it down into like 9,000 seconds per second. Like it's slow motion. I think in fast motion.
I am very glad, Craig, you are not a TV professor because that was the worst explanation of frame rate I've ever heard. But my
like Kanye West says, I need a slow motion video right now.
Kanye West in 2025. We need consistency. That's all I want is consistency. Because they're saying head contact equals penalty.
Okay, so any kind of body movement, elbow,
head contact,
chin strap, 2 minutes in the box.
Head contact equals penalty. We have been told that all season. We have seen it for the most part the entire playoffs. And remember, Craig, you were the one that flipped out when Ovechkin crossed Caulfield in the head. And Ovechkin
that's right.
Yeah, because that was an intent to hurt. Like that was
he was intending to hit the puck, according to the Capitals.
All I see here is a player turning a corner, and he's in front of a busy intersection in front of the net. That's what I saw.
I am very glad, Chazzy, I've never driven with you if you think that's how you turn a corner. Just going to be boom. But at the end of the day, the Leafs, what I was impressed with, the calmness of the group. Now, I'm sure Dan was mad that they didn't try to fight 18 people. They stayed calm and they won the game. That is the bigger importance here.
But will they win the series that way?
Yeah,
I doubt it. If Florida keeps taking out the player every game without getting away with it, there'll be no players left in game 4. 5, as to say.
I felt the Leafs' physicality, as much as the statisticians disagreed with me, I thought it was pretty well matched physicality-wise between the Leafs and Panthers. I thought the Leafs getting out to that early lead, putting lots of traffic in front of Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky played, I would put his effort as just okay. Especially the first goal was pretty rough on Nylander. Everyone's going on. He should have had the Riley one. It's a 2-on-1. Riley snipes it. I don't really blame Bobrovsky on that one. But this is where, again, I'll say the same thing about Bobrovsky we said about Hellebuck. When you're one of the highest paid goalies in the NHL, you need to play better.
Oh, Bobrovsky had a rough game.
That's why, I'm sure Dan's going to go on a tangent on how Joseph Woll is the worst goalie in the league, and he could stop the pucks that he was letting in. But Joseph Woll did one thing that was very important. How many goals did Florida score?
4.
How many goals did Toronto score?
5.
Then the goalie did his job. That's the job of the goaltender, to allow one less goal. So, Dan, that means to John
I'm going to quit this podcast.
Because he doesn't have a point in his last 2 games.
I'm going to quit this podcast right now because it's easier to be an NHL goalie than to run a podcast. See ya. Bye.
Oh, you're still here, you dope.
Well, that's my point. The point is, it's like,
hey, bye. Welcome back. I just wanted to take Dan out just to show him I can do it if I want. I'm just moving our heads around. But the thing is with Joseph Woll, what he did is what Calvin Pickard's been praised about for the Edmonton Oilers. He found a way to not let in more goals than the other goalie. That's all you have to do. Look at
In the
Grant
football
Fuhr.
game. Yeah.
And I am not saying Joseph Woll is as good as Grant Fuhr because that would be ludicrous. But Grant Fuhr's numbers were just okay. But what he did, he had the ability to make one save when you desperately needed it. And the Panthers came on really strong on a power play in that third period, and Woll shut the door for then the Leafs to score and make it 5-3. I'm not saying Joseph Woll played outstanding in this game, but he played good enough.
Yeah, but do you think that's good enough to win the series? I don't.
It's irrelevant because he came in off the bench. He'll be much better when he plays on Wednesdays. I'm calling it now. Stolarz is not playing Wednesday.
Yeah, but he sucked down the stretch in the season.
No, he didn't. Considering the guy
It's a whole new season. This is the playoffs.
Every game he allowed at least one bad goal. And especially in the playoffs, when you allow a bad goal, it's so deflating. Look at Stuart Skinner. So when Stuart Skinner does it, it's terrible. Joseph Woll does it, it's okay.
Can't compare Joseph Woll to Stuart Skinner. You just got to look at the numbers, bud. Joseph Woll.
But you also said this about Binnington during the Canada.
Thank you.
And look what he did.
Look at Jordan Binnington. Every game in that series, he let in a bad goal. Yeah,
true.
He was able to make one more save than Connor Hellebuyck, allow one less goal than Connor Hellebuyck. That is the goalie's job. It's like John Tavares to have a terrible game, but if he scores the game winner, nobody cares that he lost most of the faceoffs in the defensive end because he scored the game winner. Nobody cares that William Nylander didn't back check because he put up 3 points. I don't care how many goals the goalie lets in as long as he lets in one less than the other goalie. That is their job. Right. And when you look at Joseph Woll statistically career numbers in the playoffs, he has 4 wins, a 2.12 goals against average, and a .924 save percentage.
How many losses does Woll have in the playoffs?
He's 4-3.
What was his stats last night?
Doesn't matter.
Let's have to drum roll for that one.
Doesn't matter. He won the game.
What are his stats?
He had an 850 goals again. He had an 850 save percentage, allowing 3 goals on 20 shots.
He was
one shot in a period and a half. Panthers put a lot of pressure, and he found a way to play. And you're going on Joseph Woll was bad down the stretch. Okay, April 17th, 912 save percentage. April 13th, 962 save percentage. April 8th, 944 save percentage against Florida. May 30th, 935 save percentage. If this is the goalie you are quote-unquote screwed with that you're starting, I'm not too worried. Joseph Woll in the regular season still put up a 273 goals against average and a 909 save percentage with a shutout. Sorry, there are plenty of other. Imagine the Edmonton Oilers had Joseph Woll.
How many playoff series?
They'd be rich. They'd be ecstatic.
How many playoff series have Joseph Woll won?
How many playoff series has John Tavares won? What's your point?
More than Joseph Woll.
He's been playing 15 more years than him.
Anthony Stolarz just played this year, won 1 more series than Joseph Woll.
They're tied, you dope.
Woll didn't win the series of Samsonov.
He was the backup that still counts as a winning series.
Oh, okay. So now I'm definitely going to quit the podcast. I got credit for sitting on the bench and doing nothing, according to you.
Well, a head coach stands on the bench the whole game. Should the coach just be gone?
No.
Exactly. No, you look at this. Joseph Woll, I would argue, is a better goalie than Aiden Hill. He was better goalie than Stuart Skinner.
Yeah.
He's a better goalie than Calvin Pickard.
Yeah.
Truthfully, playoffs, I would take him over Frederik Andersen because he doesn't score on himself.
Yeah.
I'll take him over Stuart Skinner.
You just said that. You said Skinner twice.
No, I said Calvin Pickard. Now I'm saying Stuart Skinner. Both goalies in Edmonton, I would take my backup. My gosh, I would take Dennis Hill to be over Stuart Skinner. So what I'm getting at is, if this is your problem, like Craig, let's be honest. If Joseph Woll was in net for Montreal, they might have beat Washington.
No.
Over Dolbus. No. Over Dolbus, I would take Joseph
Woll. Dolbus played great.
No, come on. He was terrible in that game 4, allowing 2 weak goals. I would take a guy with a bit of playoff experience who statistically in the playoffs has been very, very good. You look at his playoff numbers, they're good.
Was
the goalie when the Toronto Marlies won it all. Yes. Joseph Woll, when you look at his numbers in the playoffs, Last year when he came in and started in 2 games, he had a 0.86 goals against average and a 964 save percentage. What more do you want from the guy?
A win.
He won both of his starts. Then he got hurt, and Samsonov actually played very well in that final game against Boston, and the Leafs scored 1 goal. Stop blaming $3 million goalies and look at your $11 million second line center. Look at your $12 million top line center. Look at your guy who wants $13 to $14 million winger. Those are the guys I'm going after. I'm not going after my backup goalie who is statistically, and by the way, got the win last night. He played good enough to get the win. They don't ask you how, they ask how many. He found a way to win.
I hope he can win the series. I really do. And he did have a good point. Before he got injured last year, he did play very well. So maybe I'm wrong.
Played outstanding. Joseph Woll in the playoffs is a good goalie. He steps it up another level. You compare it to his regular season numbers. You look at last year, he had a 294 goals against average and a 907 save percentage in the regular season. And in playoffs, a 964 save percentage and a 0.86 goals against average. I have confidence in this guy. There's a reason why you weren't like the Detroit Red Wings and picked up more mediocre goaltenders. You felt you had depth in net. Yeah. I would take Joseph Woll over at least 3 goalies right now in the playoffs today.
You're right. You got a point.
Yes. Is Anthony Stolarz a better goalie? Honestly, sure. I would agree that Anthony Stolarz is better. Anthony Stolarz has played very well. However, I think Joseph Woll is good enough.
Mm-hmm. Against Florida, though.
I don't care who it's the opponent's irrelevant. You have to beat the best teams to get through the dance. Florida beat Tampa without Barkov for majority of a game, Ekblad suspended, Tkachuk not 100%, and they still found a way to beat Tampa Bay Lightning. They didn't use it as an excuse. Toronto can't use it as an excuse either.
Yeah, true.
But just kind of recap in that game again, I did love the Leafs start.
Yes, it was great.
I thought the Leafs start was phenomenal. I thought the first period, besides the too many men penalty on the power play, which was terrible, was probably their best period they've played all playoffs.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, if they can play like that, but for 60 minutes, I don't care who's in net. I remember when Stolarz got injured, he'd only faced 9 shots at that point.
Yeah, that's true, too.
It's not like the Leafs are a team that allow 40, 50 shots a game on their goalie the way LA does with Darcy Kemper.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, Toronto allows under 30 shots per game consistently, even games that go into overtime. Right. They are a team that blocks a lot of shots. They box out really well. They don't need a Vezina goalie. They just need good enough. And if they can get to the early lead like they did in game 1, I am confident Joseph Woll is good enough to get me at least a 2-0 series lead heading back to Florida, which now leads me into what I didn't put on the script, but I'm doing it now anyways. In the Streakers app, of course, the NHL playoffs are there. Craig, who are you taking? Is Florida going to tie it, or are the Leafs taking a 2-0 series lead? I heard Bear barking. Bear's cheering for the Leafs. He's like, yeah, pick Toronto.
Game 2, I'm going to take the Panthers.
Dad, Ruff, you're wrong. Woof, 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 woof.
I'll still sleep at night. No worries.
Well, if he barks all night, you won't. But, Dad, who are you taking? Are you going at the Panthers, or do you think Joseph Woll can get you a win?
Well, after Chazzy being up 44 hours, he'll sweep after any pick, so that's all good. I'm going after business CEO there. I'm going to take Toronto for game 2. They're going out Wowie. Okay, maybe they didn't come out and fight with Anthony Stolarz got injured, but if they did, Wowie to get the win for Anthony Stolarz. I think they'll do the same in game 2. I think for Wowie to get like him or lump him, you got to give Joseph Woll a lot of respect and a lot of credit for coming off the bench in this terrible situation.
Terrible.
No. I say it's a terrible situation. He got off the bench in this terrible situation and he played well. So, you got to take the win for Woll. You got to get the win for Stolarz. So I think Leafs are going to come out with a win here. And to Jacob's point, Woll, it might be a low-scoring game of this. I think game 2 is going to be a low-scoring game.
So, Craig, you better send us a rivalry to prove us wrong.
No, I'll do that right now.
Yeah.
Now I want to move on to the Oilers.
Well, who are you picking, Jacob?
I already said that. I'm picking the Leafs. I said that Joseph Wool's going to have a strong night, and I think the Leafs are going to get it done. I think the Leafs.
We're going down to the Sunshine State up 2?
Yes.
Is that what you guys are saying?
I'm thinking, truthfully, I think the home teams have a real big advantage in this series.
Well, that's great because Toronto's home team in Florida, too, or Leaf fans in Florida.
That, not to get political, but that will be interesting to see how many Canadians make the trip.
Not to get political, but we get political.
But we are just seeing in general, less Canadians are going across the border now for whatever reason. We'll pretend we don't know why. Look at my hair. I'm crazy. But I'm going to use a badminton racket as a comb live on the air. But look at that. Now I'm sexy. But there could be less Leaf fans than there have been in the past. But let's move on to the Oilers versus the Golden Knights. Game 1 is tonight in Vegas.
Yes, Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas has home ice for this series.
Vegas.
I think Vegas is one of the loudest barns in America. I mean, you're right in the mecca of everything in Las Vegas. And this Golden Knights team is good, but they are going to need to pick up the goal scoring a lot to win this series. Now, mind you, you're facing, let's be honest, Gustafsson and Fleury were a much better goalie tandem than Pickard and Skinner and whoever else they find. Maybe the E-Bug will come in. Who knows? But when I look at this game, I think this, like we said before, it's going to come down to special teams. So I am going to take Vegas winning game 1.
Ooh.
I'm not saying Vegas will win the series, because I actually feel Edmonton will win the series. But Vegas will win game 1. Edmonton has to lose at some point. They've won 4 straight. I'm taking Vegas game 1. Dan, who are you taking?
I'm taking Edmonton, bro. Edmonton.
Send me a rivalry.
Oh, I will do. In the Streakers app. I'll send it to you. Like, Edmonton's got all the momentum coming into this, right? I mean, Vegas almost lost the series against Minnesota going to 6. Edmonton's got all the momentum here. Evander Kane getting Evander Kane back in the lineup was a huge plus. Got more even offense. I'm shocked with Wallman, because I remember they made the trade at San Jose deadline. Like, who the heck is this Wallman kid? But considering they lost Ekholm, getting Allman was a great pickup. So I'm taking Edmonton.
FYI, Matthias Ekholm will not be in the lineup tonight. Chazzy, who are you taking?
Yeah, that's a big loss.
I'm going to stick with the momentum of the Oilers to steal the first game.
Yeah.
So
If they can steal 1, game 2, whatever, but they got to steal at least one of these in Vegas.
That's right, because they don't have home ice.
They won't get it till game 5. But let's see who's right. The self-proclaimed sports analyst or these two dopes. I'm just kidding. They're not dopes. They're both beautiful men. But since we're on the fact of the Edmonton Oilers and the way they kind of crushed LA's hopes and dreams, where do the Kings go from here? And this is where I'm very perplexed.
You lost and found.
You've lost to Edmonton multiple years in a row.
That hurts.
And badly.
As an organization, that would hurt because you had the team this year to sort of like flip the switch.
Well, I'm just going to say this as a Leaf fan we kept losing to Boston every year. It's tough. You can't keep losing to the same team and not making any changes. And I don't think the LA Kings have made any major changes.
What? They got Darcy Kemper.
The core is the same in Kopitar and Doughty, and they did not get it done.
So you would trade Kopitar or Doughty?
I'd consider it.
You're on quack.
No, but they got a lot of guys on that team that have a no trade clause. And I think Kopitar is one of them. Number one, the GM was fired, which I agree with. But I'd also
firing Rob Blake.
I would fire the coach. I think that challenge in game 3 flipped the entire series.
It did. I would fire the coach too.
It was clearly not goalie interference, and that flipped the entire series. Edmonton never let go of the momentum from there on. LA blew 3 third-period leads in this series.
Maybe that's why Rob Blake got fired, because they haven't fired the coach yet. I would have fired the coach right after the game.
Well, you can't fire your coach in the middle of the playoffs. That's actually
no. I mean, once he got eliminated. Oh, when he press box it, boom, he's fired.
I don't think the Kings are that far off. They do draft and they sort of mature. They got a couple studs coming up that are gonna impact the roster next year more. But I don't think they're that far off of the guys that they brought in. They just could not beat Edmonton. They just turned it on. Like
It
they
doesn't.
ran into a hot
You
Oilers.
can't go up 2-0 and then lose 4 straight.
Oh, that hurts absolutely.
And I'm sorry, but again, this is where we see Leaf bias, but the other way around. If this was Toronto, who had lost to Boston again, they'd be saying, blow it up, blow it up,
100%.
blow it up. LA has lost Edmonton 4 straight years in the first round.
Yeah.
With a lot of the same guys there who are just not getting it done. The only thing they realistically change every year is the goaltender. And then you're right, Chazzy. They bring up a couple guys, a couple other prospects, like Quinton Byfield.
That Branton Clark, that's who I was thinking about earlier. Brant Clark on the defense.
Very cold.
But it wasn't enough. And I thought a guy like Warren Fogle had a very quiet series. He was a guy
he
who
was buzzing there mid-series, but they turned him off. Yeah.
Didn't get enough points. You never want to turn a man off while he's buzzing. But they did not get enough
No, they
points.
shut him down. He had a lot of shots, I think, in the series up to game 4 or 5.
So you're
Yeah, but
going to
it's
blame
kind
the
of-
third line winger.
Oh, you got to blame the whole lineup. But I am going to look at the third line because the depth is where LA was supposed to have the advantage.
Like,
And they didn't. I mean, the power play was phenomenal. Game 7, you even shut down McDavid and Dry, so only 1 point between Game 6. Sorry, they only got 1 point between the two of them,
like,
and you still lost.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, Edmonton's bottom 6 crushed you
yeah, somehow.
compared to LA's bottom 6. Calvin Pickard found a way to let in 1 less goal than Darcy Kemper.
Which is crazy.
There's a problem. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's your top players are getting too old. I don't know if, let's be honest, I don't think Anze Kopitar is a first-line center anymore. I think he's a very good player, but he's not a first-line center.
Oh, boy.
Look at his numbers. He's not a top center. He's a very good second-line center.
Oh, boy.
LA needs depth at center,
Wow.
and they need the bottom 6 to step up. And Kopitar, I'm sorry, but Kopitar had a quiet series. You go all you want. But so Dan, you seem to disagree with me. So would you run it back if you're LA? You'd run it back the way it is.
No, I would spend some money in free agents over the summer. I think Kopitar and Doughty are great leadership groups. So I'm keeping them in there as leaders and veteran presence. I mean, they're both first ballot Hall of Fame players, in my opinion. I'm not just going to let them walk away. But I'm giving them a much bigger, higher supporting staff. You know, maybe Kopitar's not the top line center anymore. Maybe you're going to go elsewhere and get, I don't know who, but
Mitch
go out
Marner.
and get someone.
Mitchell Marner.
No, Marner's a winger, bro. But, you know, you're going to bring in
Or he
someone
plays
like
defense
Marner.
sometimes. He can play center.
He can play center.
You know, but why not bring in someone like Mitch Marner in free agency, right? The biggest name out there. And, you know, I think maybe Jacob nailed it on the head. The bottom 6 did not perform. So,
Well, but I mean, you look here, and Kopitar isn't even in your top 9 for points for the team. Kopitar isn't in your top 9 for. Sorry, he had 2 points. He had 2 goals.
yeah, he did have a quiet series. I get that.
It's not good enough when he did have 7 assists, so he had 9 points, but he wasn't enough of an impact for me. Or I look at a guy.
I think it's pretty good. 9 points in 6 games.
It's not when you compare Philip Deneau, third line center, they would have put up 8 points. Kevin Fiala had 5 goals throughout the series. Kuzmenko
You're shooting at
had
everything.
3 goals. I mean, the LA Kings needed more. Drew Doughty struggled. Just putting it out there.
Maybe on stats,
Yeah,
you actually watched the game. Drew Doughty dominated.
I watched the game. The end of the day, he didn't do enough. These are your top guys. And when I compare them to McDavid and Draisaitl, and I get it's tough to compare them to McDavid and Draisaitl, can you imagine if Anze Kopitar was like in a Leaf situation with John Tavares, he was on your second line? It would be a much better team. I think they got to find a way to bring in a true top center. I think Kopitar is a elite second line center who can play top line minutes at times. He's not a top line center. I think it just proved it again.
Well, he was at one point.
Okay. Well, at one point I was an infant. Like, at one point, Chazzy was 6 years old. At one point, Dan didn't know what a door was.
What?
When you were born, did you come into the womb pointing at a door and go, a door? No, you didn't know what a door was. I don't care about at one point. LA Kings needed more. And I think this year is a huge failure. Just like the Colorado Avalanche. Failure.
Yeah, wow.
I don't care that you lost to Dallas. I don't care that LA lost to Edmonton. You can't keep losing to the same team over and over. And I feel like I'm watching Groundhog Day featuring Jim Carrey.
Or Tin Cup.
This is just getting insane. So the Colorado Avalanche, where do you go from here? Because your midseason retool didn't work.
Well, look at Nathan McKinnon. He just blatantly said it, was shocked me. And he said he doesn't know what to do. And
Colorado needs to go get Sidney Crosby. I don't know how you convince him to go to Colorado, but you got to convince him.
Well, it would be incredible. I mean, look at you, Jacob. You went on Brock Nelson was going to save the day. He did nothing, in my opinion.
He did nothing. I agree. Brock Nelson did not fit in Colorado, so you don't re-sign him and you let him walk.
Does Brock go back to the Island?
I could actually see him going back to the Islanders.
With the first-round pick?
I could see him going back. I could see a team like Toronto grabbing him in free agency. Actually, I could see a team like LA bringing in Brock Nelson, be a perfect fit in that lineup.
What's he going to ask for? What's a Nelson going to ask for?
Probably around 6 to 7.
Yeah, I was going to say he's probably worth about 7.
But yet Dan thinks Matthew Nice is worth 6.
No, I do agree with you, Jacob. He's worth more money now. He has very proven his point. I just don't know how Toronto's going to afford him, and they'll ask him, like, hey, do you want to make all the money, or do you want to be on a dominant franchise? Right?
I just don't know where Colorado goes. I don't think the goaltending was the issue. I thought Mackenzie Blackwood matched up pretty well against Jake Ottinger, like, considering the goaltending quality you had going into the series.
So just we'll
Neil Makar, though, was quiet.
We'll talk because we're talking about it. Brock Nelson finished the year with playing 85 games. So, I mean, he worked some overtime there. And he got 54 points. In the playoffs, he got 4 assists and he was a +2. So, I mean, he was good solidly.
Not good enough.
But he didn't make the difference, right? I think Brock Nelson gets paid around $6 million now, if I'm not mistaken. I don't really see. I get he was on a bad team in the Islanders. I don't really see Brock Nelson getting paid much more than what he's getting paid now. I think he's worth about $6 million, because you look at Nazem Kadri getting 7. Did Brock Nelson do as much as Nazem Kadri did?
The contract was 3 years ago.
Ugh.
That's like saying we shouldn't pay anyone anything because Matt Sundin used to only make $5 million. You can't compare the contracts. You got to compare. You got to look at comparable contracts signed at comparable time.
Would you say Brock Nelson's a top line franchise center?
Brock Nelson's a very good second line player.
Exactly. So what would you pay a second line center? You keep saying John Tavares is only worth 6 right now. John Tavares is probably the best second line center in the league. So I think Brock Nelson being a second line center in your Ferry he's got to be worth the same.
Which is what I already said. Why are you arguing with me?
Well, he can't be worth more than John Tavares.
Yes, he can.
What?
He's younger. He's more physical. He has better playoff experience. He has better playoff history than John Tavares. John Tavares has won 1 round. Brock Nelson has been in the conference finals twice.
And got nothing done.
Got to the conference finals of a team that shouldn't have even made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Brock Nelson on the right team is a 30-goal scorer, and he would be on the LA Kings. But I'm just saying, for the Avalanche, I think you have good players in McKinnon and Makar. Landeskog had a really good playoffs, all things considered. You have the top guys. I think you just got to retool the building blocks.
Yeah, you're close with LA. I really do think you're close. I think
LA and Avalanche are both honestly, though, I am more concerned about the LA Kings than I am concerned about the Colorado Avalanche.
Really?
Yes, because Colorado has Nathan McKinnon. Every year you have Nathan McKinnon, you are a cup contender.
Yeah.
I don't think LA, and Craig, chime in here, I don't think LA has a guy that I see makes you a cup contender.
No, I see. I'll flip the switch. I'm a little more concerned about the Avs than the Kings because the Kings, I think, have a lot more. Their contracts are more no trade movement. So, and it sounds like they have a plan with their youth and how they're bringing them up. They just need one or two studs that have some winning pedigree behind them and can bring that into the locker room because that's what you missed here. You lost it. You basically 4 in a row when you're up, full control, dominating a team that just beat you the last 3 years, and you had them on the ropes, and you utterly just went backwards. And
Yeah,
you had the starting goalie out. You weren't even facing their starter. So
I think LA didn't do enough at the deadline. I think that's what got Rob Blake lost his job when they bring in Kuzmenko.
And that might be that, but they also were a hot team in the second half. Don't forget
they were. But you even look at the Winnipeg Jets, the best team in the league, still made 2 moves.
Yeah.
And 2 players that turned out to be real difference makers in that series, right?
They did.
So it's going to be an interesting offseason for both LA and Colorado. They were just hoping it was going to be a much shorter offseason.
Yes.
But you know what was interesting when we were live with it yesterday was the new NHL draft lottery, seeing the New York Islanders taking that first overall pick.
The new way of playing bingo.
A very crazy way to play bingo. But everyone seems to be saying Schaefer is the best prospect available. However, Pup, good friend of the program, feels that Schaefer might not be the best prospect on the board. Take a listen.
Pup here, and the NHL draft lottery is coming up on May 5th. And the 2 players to watch out for would be Saginaw Spirit forward and Memorial Cup champion Michael Misa and Brampton Steelheads forward Porter Martone. 2 very young, very high-skilled, amazing players that any team would love to select. Back to the boys at the Skrigers Island podcast.
Wow.
I think the puppy got a nice haircut.
He did. He is looking sexy. For anyone who just listens to the podcast or watch it on our YouTube channel, Pup is a sexy beast. But I find it interesting that Pup has a very different look than
even what we were talking about during the live show.
Really.
Everyone else, most lists that I'm seeing has Matthew Schaefer as the first overall pick.
Right.
However, Misa of 134 points in 65 games for Saginaw. That is hard to ignore.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, wow.
And Porter Martone did put up 98 points in just 57 games. As much as
Puck's second choice?
Pardon?
Who is Puck's second choice again?
Martone.
Okay.
The tier 2 prospect. Now, my question is here. We talked about it a bit on the live show, but for the Islanders, it's probably going to be between Misa and Schaefer. Will the Islanders want defense or will they want more offense? Because let's be honest, the Islanders can't score.
Right.
Yeah, they're already strong defensive core.
Yeah,
but that's Schaefer. He's a generational player, is he not?
He is. And that's where this is tough, but I think Misa could be a generational talent too.
No, true. Yeah. A couple of years out, absolutely.
The only thing is, I think Schaefer could help them now. I think Misa helps you in 2 years.
Right.
So that's where the real question lies. Where are you looking?
I don't know. I'm the Islanders. You basically missed the playoffs and not scoring enough goals, so I would get goal scoring. ...
But I mean, there's some great goal scorers further down the list. So the other thing for the Islanders, as we look down here, there's a lot of point per game players on this board. This is a very deep draft, even if it's not necessarily doesn't have that superstar the way a lot of that we have in years past, what we're going to see in the future. Could you see the Islanders trade the pick?
Yeah,
move down the draft.
Maybe.
Let's say you trade the pick to Philadelphia and go 6th. take the 6th overall draft pick, and then you still potentially get a really, really solid prospect. And Daniels here, who put up 84 points in 56 games in the QMJHL.
Yeah.
Or do you maybe even call Chicago and say, look, you need someone desperately to play with Connor Bedard. We're more than happy to take Porter Martone. You want this 4th overall pick. We want
Bertuzzi.
No, I would say Danton.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's a good
We
player.
want Danton, or we want Bertuzzi, or we just want a couple more draft picks. Maybe you make a trade to get someone else later in the draft.
Well, so you're thinking Chicago? If I was Chicago, I'd take Schaefer.
Yeah, Chicago would really want Schaefer. And looking at the mock draft here, right, again on Tankathon, this is where it's interesting seeing, I see some good players who could be potentially picked up that maybe the Islanders are okay not selecting 1st overall.
Yeah, it's a good point. I thought Chicago was going to get the 1st overall pick. I really did.
Or do you call San Jose? San Jose has no defense and say, look, we know you want Schaefer.
Yeah, that's true. I literally have no defense.
I don't want to see it too fat. You want Schaefer.
I think I have no defense. They talk about tooth.
There was an ad on the screen, but let's make a deal.
On that last chart you're showing, there's a lot of Canadian flags. What do you guys think of with the open borders coming over the next few years? Do you think we'll see a lot more international flags on that top list?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think so.
I really think you will.
Because it's really interesting.
As we see more of these players come from overseas and play NCAA hockey, because that's the big thing now. NCAA is allowing players to come in more than they ever have. We're going to see more, and we're going to see guys maybe who are in the OJHL or the CJHL or the QMHL, and then moving on to NCAA for a couple years. We may see more players go undrafted and just get signed.
Right, yeah.
Like the way Tyler Bozak did back in the day. We might see more overage NCAA players coming into the league, or maybe the NHL makes it so you can be drafted when you're older.
Cujo was undrafted.
Like or will more teams go for guys? Look at my eyes who aren't NHL ready yet. Look at Kaprizov in Minnesota.
Yeah, literally.
Look at that really good rookie in Montreal, the one they just brought in. Chazzy, help me out.
Pardon me? Dubas?
No, the forward. Daninoff. Look, he was a guy that you drafted knowing he wasn't going to play right away, and I think he made an impact.
He did. Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely, yes. At the end of the year, to give him a couple games, absolutely.
So I do wonder if more teams will be willing to take guys that aren't NHL ready yet. Montreal will have the 15th pick overall with the trade they made with Calgary when they got Monahan, and then they flipped Monahan. It worked out really well for Montreal, actually. Montreal's done a great job with that.
Because they got
the draft will be interesting, and obviously we're gonna have a closer look at the NHL draft closer to.
Right, we'll probably have to do a special show about that.
But right now, you know what isn't done yet? The OHL Playoffs.
Ooh.
The OHL Playoffs are in the finals between the London Knights, who Dan called,
for his team right from the beginning.
Yeah,
and the Oshawa Generals. Chazzy's team right from the beginning. My Brantford Bulldogs went out not very early, but they went out earlier than I thought they would. So I don't think this series will be a sweep. I think it's going to be a tight series. I think these are two very evenly matched teams. Two of the hottest teams in the OHL right now. They've been on a tear. Who do you guys see winning the series? I don't want to talk about game one so much yet. I just want to talk series. Who's winning the series? I'm going to say Oshawa beats London. I don't think London's going to win them. I don't think London's going to the Memorial Cup this year.
I think this game's very important on Easton Cowan, and he wants to stay a Maple Leaf.
Oh, my.
And NHL career, he's got to win this thing because he sucked to Team Canada. So I think London's going to take this in 7.
What are your thoughts, Chazzy?
Sticking with the Schwa Generals.
Sticking with the schwa. It's going to be a hell of a series, though. Series starts on Thursday. We'll give you our Game 1 preview on the Thursday episode. But
and
now
we have that in the app. It's up now. So all first four games are on there.
So I think Chaz, you need to send a rivalry to Dan, like now.
That's right, yeah.
Like right now. Go. But I do want to talk World Hockey Championships.
Oh my goodness. Get the popcorn ready, boys. This is going to be exciting.
It's going to be stacked. You got Marc-Andre Fleury, who's agreed to come back. He says he's got to keep Sidney Crosby in check. And
so is he going to Pittsburgh?
He said he went, coming back to the World Hockey Championships.
I think he's going to Pittsburgh next year. I think he's retiring.
I'll be honest, that did actually cross my mind as Crosby tried to convince him to come back. But
why else would he go?
Because he's never played in a World Hockey Championship. And
he's going to retire.
He joked with the reporters saying, I went home and my kids were crazy, so I knew I had to go play more hockey.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's going to Team Canada. Sidney Crosby's going to Team Canada. And Nathan McKinnon.
Crazy.
This Team Canada team is going to be stacked.
Why doesn't Fleury just hire free nannies the way John Tavares does?
I think he actually wants to take care of his children.
Why wouldn't you? You'd warm up for the Olympics, no?
Well, and I think that's the big thing too. I want Marc-Andre Fleury
chemistry,
and Fleury did state too when he his retirement thing. He didn't really enjoy it as much when he's on the bench all the time. I think he feels going to this tournament he's going to be able to play some games.
Be like a kid again. Here we go, boys.
Yeah. So I'm excited for this tournament. I mean, I know the rest. It'll be interesting to see who else joins Team Canada as more teams have been eliminated. And who joins some of the other teams too? Like you'll probably see Kopitar go. You'll see Kevin Fiala go. I wonder now if Drew Doughty will go to Team Canada.
I was going to say Drew Doughty.
I would see him going. I could see him going.
I could see him going as well. I do wonder about everyone's favorite crybaby, Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah.
Will he be going to Team USA? It'll be very interesting, but this will be an exciting tournament, and I'm pretty sure it'll be in the Streakers app.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
You know what, guys? In case you didn't know, I have a connection.
If we don't, another fan will do it because you can control your own games, you can control your own leagues, so someone will have it on there.
Exactly.
And if you want something in there, I kind of know the boss, so we can get it in there.
Anybody can put anything in there now.
That's right.
And that's what makes it so incredible. That's what makes Craig a rock star.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying the peach one. It's pretty good. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting hockey. I can't wait to see Team Canada go up there yet again, represent the country. And again, it's going to be huge. I think the whole country is really going to be getting involved once again.
I don't know. I think everybody's going to be watching the playoffs, bud.
I think people will be flipping back and forth, setting the PVRs.
Well, because the time, where is it overseas this year?
I believe so. So it should be a time difference.
It'll be the time difference, yeah.
It's going to be like Chazzy and never sleep.
Hockey all day. There you go. All night, all day. Daylight, 24 hours a day.
Yeah, there you go. On the island.
But let's move to the Toronto Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays have really, really been struggling. They have lost 2 of their last 3 against the Guardians, lost back-to-back, and now they go and face the Nationals.
No, I think they're in Anaheim, are they not?
I thought they're facing the Nationals. I could be mistaken.
I think they go on a road trip.
Yes, they are on the road. But how important is this for the Blue Jays to find their game again?
Very important. May baseball. Get it done.
My apologies. They play the Angels next.
Angels in the outfield, like the movie.
But how important is it to get a game tonight at 9:30? This is a team. You're 16-18. Angels are 13-20. I think you got to bring the brooms.
I agree with you 100%. Get it done. Go for 500 again.
You just need some momentum because you had that come from behind win. Then you win again, or no, you had the lead going into the bottom of the 9th, 2 out, and you give up a grand slam. Like they're trying to like baseball's a momentum, but you try, and then that sort of like just brought us back. And then Sunday they didn't have that much of a outing, and then now you go on the road.
It's tough, right? This team is just they seem to find their way. And then they suck. They can't seem to string together some wins, which I think they're going to need to make a comeback in the standings. And I know it's going to be May. Like, I know it's only May. I understand that. But
In order to get 98 wins, they got to get going.
The only blessing for the Blue Jays is that the Yankees and the Red Sox also
they're just starting to warm. Yeah, they're just
no one's
to
playing right now. The AL East is wide open because everyone sucks. I'm just going to put that out there. The Yankees suck. 19-16. That's terrible for the Yankees. Only 4 wins in the last 10. Red Sox 18-18. Only have won 4 of their last 10. The Blue Jays 16-18. Good team at home, terrible on the road. Have only won 4 of their last 10.
Well, that's why Jays got to take advantage of how often you see the Red Sox and Yankees sucking at the same time.
I know.
Like, we gotta get the brooms here and take advantage and dominate. This is beginning of the year. This is where they can really jump ahead because the games are just going to get harder from here. So if they jump off ahead at the beginning of May here and go into June to start rolling 500, they'll be fine.
You need more than 500, but you really got to go on a run. This is the time to go on a run. So who's, again, the MLB is in what app?
Streakers!
So who's taking game 1 in this series against the team?
The Angels, bud.
The Angels, thank you. I had a brain fart. Who's winning that game? Dan, I'm going to start with you. Do you think the Jays are going to get back to their 98 win pace that you called at the beginning of the season?
Yes.
You should have said that with more conviction.
Yes!
You've been like, yes, Queen.
Yeah, B.
So, Craig, who are you taking? The Jays or are you taking the Angels?
Game 1, I'm going to hope for the Jays, but I think the Angels will take this. Looks like they got Tyler Anderson's on the mound versus Jose Urena, which just got lit his last outing. I don't think he's seen more than 2 or 3 innings, so it might be a bullpen day for the Jays. So I'm going to lean the Angels.
I'm taking the Blue Jays. I think they need a sweep in this series, and I think they got to get May going, and I think they're going to get it going this.
Mind you, it all depends on those Santa Ana winds down in Anaheim at that ballpark. So
I think the bats got to wake up. I think Vladdy's going to have a big game, and they're going to find a way to start converting hits into runs because right now they're getting runs, but they're not getting. I mean, they're getting hits, but they're not getting enough runs. Quickly before we go, the CFL training camp is only about a week and a half away, and the Edmonton Elks are wasting no time cutting players. They cut 10 players heading into training camp, including
heading into kid training camp.
Yeah, is that crazy?
That's why I was surprised. But including Kai Gray, who was the rookie, who won Rookie of the Year back in 2023, had a very strong campaign for Edmonton in 2024. So I was very confused.
I'm surprised the
Argos. Did he come to camp overweight or something?
I mean, he didn't have as strong as a year last year as he did the year before, but he still is a very effective player. Had 3 interceptions last season. He's a guy that will play hard, has had 58 defensive tackles.
He can go south to our Stampeders down there.
Ooh.
Actually, I more see him going to Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg's got some holes to fill in their secondary with Tyrell Ford leaving. Not saying this guy's a replacement for Tyrell Ford, but he's a very good player.
Argo.
Or he could be going to Toronto. Toronto defensive backs, you know what? It was kind of a weak spot last season. So time will tell. They did also release Jarrett Doege, but I kind of expected that. He didn't really.
So is this abnormal teams releasing players this early?
No, this is odd. Usually you don't do it until after the first week of training camp. You got to cut so many players.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Just as another quick note, Atelike from Toronto announced his retirement yesterday.
Who did?
Atelike. He was kind of he was in the rotation for the Argos, played most of his career in Hamilton. So that's just some other news. And the BC Lions owner, Amar Doman, is looking to get a new practice facility for the Lions. Nothing concrete yet, but he is looking to build a new practice facility for the BC Lions. We know that he's really trying to up the BC Lions portfolio, and a big way to do that is to improve your practice facilities.
Why? Always practice in the arena?
No.
Oh, that would make sense, wouldn't
That
it?
would be stupid.
Why?
Everyone practices somewhere else
Why, though?
because you want to rent out your arena to other things, not just practice. We're not talking a game. We're talking practice. Not a game. Not a game. We talking practice. But Dan, what's your island mindset?
My iron mindset today is a quote, and the quote is that Easy Street is a dead end. And I heard that quote someone else said, can't really say who, but it was a very good quote. I thought it was so true. You know, sometimes Easy Street is a dead end. You gotta keep pushing down the rough paths and the dirt old bumpy speed bump roads to get to where you want to go, where you need to go. It's not easy, but at least you'll get for it any day versus a dead end. So I thought it was a good quote.
You know what? The easy path is not always the best path.
Yeah.
Or as Jay-Z's, it was either Jay-Z or Eminem. He said, I saw the fork in the road and I went straight, which I'm pretty sure was Jay-Z in the song Renegade. But it is time we sign off on the Streakers Island podcast. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you more than you will know, more than life itself. That's how much I appreciate you. But thank you very much for watching the Streakers Island podcast. Make sure you download the Streakers app today, like right this second. Like, go on your phone.
Appreciate you even more if you do that.
I know it's in your hand. Like, look, everyone's phones are always ready.
You're taking a poo-poo anyway, so you can see good time to
Make
do
sure
it.
you download the app. Follow us on all our social medias. We've been going live. We've been doing a whole bunch of stuff here on the island, and we're going to be doing more and more with the Streakers app in the coming days. Watch out for what we start doing at the Canadian Football League. It is going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
I'm Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst. Beside me is Dan More for your money.
Woo!
And we have the CEO, Mr. Chazzy himself. But thank you very much for watching. And until Thursday, you're going to have to somehow find a way to survive without our beautiful voices. See you later.
We'll watch for
Bye.
the game coming in.